I don't draw walls. I don't pretend to be an architect. I'm not going to be an architect. I don't get in any trouble. Architect is the artist. No matter what you want to say, they're the artist on the project.
He sees the beauty you create. I love it. Howdy, everyone. This is Jeff Megow again with tenantimprovement.com, the Lease and Build Podcast. We want to thank you for liking, subscribing, following us, sharing it with your friends so that we can talk about all kinds of things, capital improvement, tenant improvement, construction projects. And we just appreciate everything in terms of all the following. Today, I want to introduce a new friend of mine that I've just recently met through our tenantimprovement.com roundtables, Mr. Cornelius Davis with Building Standard Consultants. So good to see you. I always shake hands. It just feels like the right thing to do. And I don't know if all podcasts do that because people are watching or not. So, but anyways, Cornelius, thank you for being here. Excited to have you and talk about what you do. Cornelius is an MEP consultant, and being the floor guy, floor zone, that's not something we get involved in. So I'm kind of a novice in this area. So I'm excited to kind of dive deep into the type of services you provide and your background and projects and see how that kind of relates to everything. So welcome and thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
First question is just kind of, let's just tell us a little bit of yourself, who you are, where you're from, what your life's like, and how'd you get into what you do?
Got you. Cornelius Davis. I've born and raised in St. Louis, Missouri, 0 through 18. Immediately after high school, left and went to college at Kansas State. Out in Kansas State, did 6 years there at the architectural engineering program. It's one of the better ones and one of the first ones in the country. From there, we had an alumni come luckily pick me up, take me down here to Houston, Texas. So from 2011 on, I've been in Texas in general. I did a brief stint in Austin for about 3 years, and then I'm back in Houston. For MEP Consulting Engineering, we're basically the people who help the building function. So when you're thinking of any space that you're in, we're going to help with the power the lighting. We may not do the lighting design, but we will help power that lighting that goes on. We will locate those switches. When you're looking at the plumbing, we're making sure that those fixtures function. We sometimes pick them out, sometimes with the architect, but then we'll make sure those fixtures are functioning and how they're sized correctly and work properly. And then the mechanical portion is going to be the HVAC system. So the ventilation, the heating and cooling of that space. So in Houston, it's a big deal where it's one of the number one air conditioned places in the world. So we're in high demand out here. But our job is, what I tell anybody as engineers or architectural engineers or MEP engineers, is to not be seen. If you see our stuff, it is an issue that was an afterthought.
Something's gone wrong.
Yes.
Air conditioning wasn't done right. Everybody's hot.
Right.
Or this light system is tripping too much or something.
Right.
Okay. Well, so tell me the difference. And you told me this while we were at our bite to eat, but they're electrical contractors, licensed electricians, electrical plumber or licensed plumbers and stuff. You're a tier in between. You're between the architecture design, them, or you're explain that difference.
Yeah, so we're design professionals similar to the architect. We have to have licenses to be able to work, to be able to stamp drawings. So that is we're kind of gatekeepers to get permits. It's the best way to say it. We work alongside the architect. So the architect, 90% of the time, will hire us and we'll be underneath their contract. We're helping to build documentation so that the contractor beneath us can build it. Our documentation is built on life safety and obviously the functioning of the system. And generally, you would like to hire me with the architect, and then you want to create what we call bid documents or drawings, and they're going to bid those drawings out to different general contractors, plumbing contractors, electrical contractors, plumbing contractors, depending on the project, to be able to get you the best price. So yes, you can go and talk to the contractor first, and he'll say, oh, I can do it for this, and da-da-da-da, but you don't really have anything to go off until the real design is done. And so it's a way to be able to price it on the front end to know if you're going to get the best deal or what deal you're going to get.
Okay. Since you're working through or with the architect, you might not ever really be interfacing with the general contractors yourself, or
depending on the scale and the size of the project. Some projects will say, hey, we want to bring in the contractor alongside us to be able to give a better bid or give be able to, what we call, not gold plate it. And so bringing the bid down. A good example would that be do we want to do rooftops or do we want to split systems, or do we want to do VRF, which would be variable refrigerant volume system? what is the price differences, what are the options to be able to get you the best price.
Okay, you're referring to HVAC. You said
HVAC.
rooftop. I was like,
Yes.
what a roofing? Okay, putting the air conditioning system up on the roof or
Yes.
somewhere in the building or to the
And
side of the
so
building.
contractors can help me as the engineer give a better price to the client. And then let's say post permit, then will the contractor really be involved? And that's when they take over because they're doing the install and the construction. So from there, we get the RFIs similar to what you get, or RFIs or maybe even submittals to make sure that the product that they're installing is per the drawings, and so they're not going what we call rogue or going on their own.
Okay. Yeah, I was wondering about that. When you say going rogue, so much of your systems are behind a wall
Yes.
or behind under a building
Yes.
in a ceiling, chase or something like that. And I was like, going rogue, I mean, you can't do that in commercial flooring. Like, I want that carpet with that design, and you show up with something different, you're going to be in a lot of trouble. So, like, does going rogue happen a lot? And then how does that just, I would assume liability throughout the line.
Right. So I've worked on projects even recently where the contractor and the owner got, let's say, clever and decided to go rogue. They didn't do what was on the drawings.
Mm-hmm.
What ends up happening is that you get a permit, then you're able to work on the drawings and install. After that, the city comes back out and checks to make sure that you install what's on the drawings.
And the
So
inspectors are getting down to the granular of that's not the right wire.
they don't get
That's
to
not
the right wire, but if you installed a sink here that should be there, or if you installed two that should be one, now the behind the wall and what's below floor has to change. Or if you decided that what happened to me on the most recent project is we're not going to look at your drawings in any capacity or very much, and we're going to put mechanical here and this there, and we're going to change the ducting as we want. Then the city comes back out and pops them and says, hey, this isn't per the drawings. And now the contractor and the owner are now scrambling to be able to get drawings back to the city to be able to get them back to where they're actually on the field and making sure that they meet up.
Does that I would imagine there's going to be a finger pointing situation between contractor building owner. Is that ever then somebody starts pointing back in your direction, or
What
to me it sounds like the GC in a scenario, I'm thinking a GC makes a budget conscious change or the owner makes a change without throwing all the information up the line,
Yeah.
but does that get you guys
No,
into
I don't get in any trouble.
no?
It gets the ownership in trouble because they may come for a final punch with the city or a final walk with the city, and the city says, no, you can't have your certificate of occupancy. And
Uh,
now they've already signed their lease. Now they're past due on it, and they're burning money on not being able to be open.
gotcha.
But they have unilaterally made decisions. Sometimes it's one project is like, we have another 400 square feet we want to put in. We're going to just do it, and then they get in trouble for it. Or it's been where we don't want to do this. We want to do it this way. The owner and the contractor are talking because the owner's talking to the contractor's talking to the owner and telling them we can do all these things for you, and nobody comes back and talks to us until it's panic time.
So you get hired in the early design phase, schematic phase, issue for construction phase for a set of plans. How far into the duration of that project to its completion and they're opening up, getting the certificate of occupancy? How far are you involved in that chain, or do you?
It depends on what you want to pay. So
Okay.
so we can be so we're in. So how I say it is the architect is the artist.
Hmm.
No matter what you want to say, they're the artist on the project. They're going to develop the site. They're going to develop the building.
I would think if we have a lot of architects, which we do on our list watching this podcast, they'll love that.
Yeah. So
Okay.
the architect is the
He
artist.
sees he sees the beauty you create. I love it.
We can talk about that all day. I am 100% fan. If I ever go out into like we did in Mexico City, if we go to San Antonio, we go anywhere, my wife will do art, but I'll say, hey, can we go on an architecture tour? Because I want to see what they did.
Okay.
And I used to be a docent where I would give the tour for the architecture.
Okay.
So I love architecture.
There you
I
go.
love it. But so they're the artists. They're gonna tell you what the building needs to look like, how to get in and how to get out of it. And then we're gonna come in and engineer everything behind the scenes.
Okay. Well, so in architecture, there's the design side and the architect of record, or the documentation
Hmm.
side. Are you partnering up with the architect design firm, or are you partnering up with more the architect of record, structural,
So
or not structural architect of record?
when you're talking that, you're
Development?
talking a large scale project. So
Okay.
sometimes there's an architect that'll give a concept drawing over, and then they'll have an architect of record make it.
Actually do
Yes,
the gritty work.
yes.
Okay.
But a lot of scale projects I work on are not at that level where the architect is there from the beginning to the end. So once the architect develops to a certain percentage, let's say he's giving an SD level drawings to the owner to approve and say, yes, we want to go forward. That's when I get involved.
Okay.
And sometimes it could be helping them with the space planning. So they may say, hey, we want to do an office space. Okay, well, we need what does our electrical room need to look like? And I'll help them through that based on schematic design. Or they may say, we want to have split systems, but what does our closet need to look like? Okay, well, let me help you with that part of the space planning to be able to make sure the system is going to be hidden in a way that you don't want to see it or be in the right space.
Some of my research and my questions before you came today, one of them was talking about one issue sometimes can be is that there's not enough room for the equipment, the space for the equipment room
Mm-hmm.
to have the full chillers and HVAC or whatever servers and so forth.
Yeah.
So you're kind of talking around like designing that equipment room.
Yeah, and
Um,
that's what we do on a daily basis. So if in the SD level, depending on the scale of the project, you want to have an engineer involved, at least to help the architect help massage the plans that they have.
So starting from SD schematic designs, they've done those, and then they're deciding they're going to move forward. That's when
Yeah.
an MEP consultant comes in.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And sometimes before then, because we'll give a price based on the schematic design or based on the square footage, even some of the building, and help them be able to negotiate that price with the ownership and say, hey, we think we can get. I'm just going to throw out a number. We know MEP is going to be for this square footage is going to be 10,000 for MEP to do this. Are you good with that? And they'll say, yeah, that's inside of our architectural fee, and we'll continue to go.
Okay. So give me an example, small project for you, big project. I kind of threw that there. Maybe kind of walk me through. So your architecture firm, they're building something, what would be big or small that
So
your company would focus on?
small could be as we've done some as small as just office lobby renovation. We've done some small, which would be mostly electrical. Sometimes we even do some small, even like a bathroom renovation. That's small, where it's going to be a nominal fee to get it done. Not going to be anything that's extreme. Nothing to write home about. The largest project I worked on has probably been an apartment complex. With an apartment complex, we won't do high rise. We will only do low rise, and we will do a garden style. Garden style is what I prefer to focus on.
Okay.
Low rise is going to be potentially you're talking to, but lower than 4 stories, lower than 6 stories. But they're not going to have the same generator requirements and the same scale. With the garden style projects, garden style apartment buildings are more like when you go to an apartment complex and you see a bunch of individual buildings. That's garden style projects where they have a lobby with probably fitness on it or an office space with it, or an office space with it, and then they'll have a whole bunch of buildings surrounding it with the that have actual apartments in it, and then you'll have like another maybe a mini space for like a pool and things of that nature.
And when they come to you, they're coming for the whole gamut. They're coming for the mechanical, the electrical, the plumbing. They're coming for that service is all those wrapped into one.
Yes.
And I read somewhere like potential conflicts. Where do those interact where you have issues between plumbing and electrical?
Well, that's the purpose of coming to one firm is that you would hope that they are talking, that the mechanical discipline is talking to the electrical discipline, is talking to the plumbing discipline.
Okay.
When you look at it holistically, and I used to do, my main focus was electrical for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
I need to know the plumbing system to know where that water heater is, where the pumps are, where anything that needs power to it. Same thing with the mechanical side. I need to know where they need power as well. So we're gonna have a coordination set or coordination time where we're all supposed to look at each other's drawings and see what we need to give. Mostly mechanical is going to give me what they need and where they need it. Same thing with plumbing is going to give me what they need and where they need it.
Okay.
On the electrical side. You can get into conflicts with clearances. You can get into conflicts if the plumbing is routing where the mechanicals is. But generally, it's not hard for the contractor to fix that in the field.
Okay.
Because it's, you got a 2-inch pipe that's going this direction that now needs to be lowered, and they can fix that in the field.
Okay.
On the scale of projects that I'm working on.
Okay. All right, Cornelius, we'll talk a little bit about some of the challenges that in the work that you do, you probably face and explain to the users, but let's talk about long lead times and equipment. I know that we've had projects where you're going to start in August and we have to have HVAC for flooring, and that gets there in October. So we're geared up for August and then we're waiting. But what is it that's driving, or what kind of systems or products or lead times? How does that affect what you do or help
So
planning?
the lead times affect more so the contractor if they're not knowledgeable about it. So like in some cases, we'll expect specific equipment to tell them what size to buy or what manufacturer to buy because we've gone with that manufacturer. The city of Houston has gotten more stringent where they don't really want you to buy anything outside of that manufacturer. So if you do a rooftop unit by Mitsubishi, or not say Mitsubishi, but you do a rooftop unit by XYZ,
Yeah.
they want to see that unit. So it's partially lazy, but they want to say this exact number is on the drawings, check.
Yeah.
Right. So the city's gotten more stringent with that. What we've run into on lead times with daycares is that daycares have a certain amount of ventilation that they need because they have a high population or a certain amount, like 20 to 22 students plus teachers, so 24 bodies in there.
Mm-hmm.
Those really need specialized or higher end units based on the ventilation needs. So when I say that is you have more outside air, more raw air coming into the building, not raw air, you have more raw air or outside air that has to come into the building, that has to be conditioned down. So that equipment is going to be made by certain manufacturers, period. You're not going to be able to get it we would not recommend going to an off the shelf rooftop unit that's the same tonnage to be able to make it work because it's not going to be able to handle the outside air. And once you have a higher percentage of outside air in that specialized unit, if you aren't purchasing it on time and thinking about when you purchase it, then it gets into issues of when you can proceed with what you're building inside the building. So you have a period of time where they enclose the building, they close the envelope, right? They keep it away from the elements, but you aren't be able to condition it. So I can't think of it in a flooring way, but if you're trying to avoid moisture and avoid insulation issues or heat being in the building when you're installing certain items, you really want the air condition to be on.
Right.
And if you're not thinking about those items and you're just like, oh, we're just gonna buy whatever we want, it's a da 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 da, you could run into problems later on because we really want you to have this unit because if you don't meet these outside air requirements and the unit is struggling to meet up, the lesser unit is struggling to meet up with it, then you're introducing humidity and mold into the building and potentially causing other issues that you don't want to have.
And that's just the school you were saying.
That's a
Higher density foot traffic, higher, what do you call it?
higher
Person
population.
square.
Yeah, you have a higher density per square footage that you need
Right.
to meet those outside air
Would
requirements.
that apply to churches as well, I'm
Yes.
assuming? Or
Assemblies, same thing with not so much with retail, because retail you can do off the shelf, but a church would be another good example where you have a high density of people or even a movie theater. We have a high density of people in that area, and you really want to make sure they have the outside air that's necessary to keep the building from being quote unquote sick.
Okay. Tell me about design coordination because we know plumbing, electrical, mechanical. We talked about some of the possible, you need to know where and when and stuff, but is the project ever come to in reverse where plumbers and the electricians and HVAC all kind of submit what they want to do, and then you kind of like go, oh, hey guys, you referee what can be done, or is it you're starting from the top and they're waiting for instructions?
So I've been on projects where the contractor has told the owner they can do it without a permit. And then you have to go back and check what they did and make sure that it's per code and then draw it the way that they have it. So I've been on these situations where I think it was at a grocery store recently where they decided they're going to we put in one grease trap for them and they said, oh, we need to do it on the other side. So they just did it without saying anything. But the city came out and saw it and said, that's new. Why did you do that? Where's your drawings at? And they ran into an issue. Same thing with somebody installing a whole different grocery store decided they wanted to redo their refrigerators, their walk-in refrigerators. No problem with it, but that's electrical, some mechanical, and plumbing that have to touch it. And they did it without a permit, and now they had to go back and get it done. So I had to go out, talk with the contractor, survey it, make sure it's done. Another daycare that I did a long time ago, but I don't think I ever got that project. They had a friend of a friend contractor who can do work. They did a bunch of work. The city came out and looked at it later on and said, you have all these issues. Now you got to fix it.
Wow.
So it does happen, but it's more so on this city or some officials came in later on and said you need to fix it, and now we gotta get drawings.
Right. Um, does one of the three particular trades give you more trouble than the other?
Uh,
Or is it the subs that give you trouble? I'm trying to look for just an understanding, like, oh, you know what? My job would be easier if just the mechanical would do it this way. My electrical would never be a problem if the plumbing didn't do this. I mean,
I
is
would
there
say
one that kind of leads
I would
the
say mechanical because
mechanical?
it's because I'm not gonna say it's subjective. You do loads to be able to figure out what it's gonna be, but there's contractors in the field that'll say, "Oh, he's doing too much. We're not gonna do that," and then that's when it becomes an issue. So
Mhm.
there's like we talked about before, where the contractors say, "I'm gonna go rogue, and we got the permit. We're gonna do what we want to do," and time again, it's been the mechanical side.
It has. Different types of architects are going to reach out to you. Do developers and business owners also, or are they just straight architects?
No, I as a business owner, I try to cultivate relations with architects. That's going to give me a lot of my business.
Mhm.
But along the way, you will meet electricians that say, "Hey, we have a project that we want to design build on. We want to use you, or we want to use your drawings." So that happened to me recently too, where it was a warehouse flex where we just need you to do electrical on it. Can you handle that? What's the fee going to be on it? Or it might be a
So they separate out. They're like, "Hey, we know you do all three. Just give us this.
yeah.
Give us the E, not the M and the P."
Yeah, that's happened multiple times where I've worked on food facilities, whereas we just need you to do electrical on it.
Hmm.
We just need you to mechanic. We just need you to do one system on it to be able to go it home.
Like next door, we interviewed someone here who's developing a space next to our office. The floor zone, it's 2-car condominiums. It's 9 units. They're shell basically, but there's a kind of like our showroom where you got a large garage downstairs with a loft that overlooks it. It's all one giant conditioned space, and there's one restroom and a little bit electrical. So there's probably not a lot of potential for conflict. So maybe that's where, like, did the customer that was doing that flex space that just needed you for the electrical, was that I'll do it, but you might get yourself in trouble, or was it just that it was so obvious?
No, when you look at a flex space like what you're talking about, which are becoming more and more popular because
Mhm.
they're a lot of people just want to rent a warehouse and have a small office space to it, which is a flex, and a small restroom. So we call it warehouse flex. Those are mostly electrical.
Okay.
There's the contractor was just an electrical contractor, the one would bring me in to do just the electrical. They probably had a mechanical component to that project as well that's going to do just the mechanical. But those were strictly shell buildings where you're bringing the service to the building and
Mhm.
then you're stopping there. So you're bringing service, doing the lighting on the exterior, and that's it.
Okay.
But to your other question, do developers hire me? Yes, I've had developers come to me directly, and I'll do the same thing I'll do to anybody else. I don't draw walls. I don't pretend to be an architect. I'm not going to be an architect. I'll bundle you with my architect or have those introductions to get you over the hump. But are the developers that just want you to, they say, "Hey, Cornelius, we want you to work." Yeah, but still need an architect to get you over the hump. So here's my guy. Here's a couple of people you can talk to. I do business with these people, they're trustworthy people, and keep it going on.
So let's move to a scenario where the building's already built. Is there so I guess tenant improvement work
Hmm.
is work that's happening inside a building that's already existing, been there a long time. Um, so that's in my mind. There's I know there's schematic drawings and so forth
Hmm.
like that, but I was reading and researching a little bit about this interview, and it was um, operate building operating costs and how it can be lowered. Are there projects where you go in and then you make recommendations on how to change an existing building to kind of improve its efficiencies? I'm thinking leads, I'm thinking
So
different certifications, or is that's usually in the design of the building going forward?
so it's twofold on it. So there are projects where so at my scale at my firm I wouldn't do those things.
Okay.
But there are ways to be able to do it. But the energy code has already pushed people to move that direction. And
Okay.
what I mean by that is you're already grandfathered in. You can't tell somebody with your 20-year-old building you need to be at an XYZ standard. They don't do that. But as you renovate parts of your building, you're gonna have to be able to bring them up to energy code. And usually they do it through lighting. They do it through lighting and power. So the most like lighting has happened for a long time where you've seen LED lighting that are
Right.
lower cost. The next change, the next iteration has been occupancy controlled receptacles, so power. So
Okay.
your receptacle is no longer just gonna have power on all the time and just like slowly leak power out is the best way to say it. It's gonna when nobody's in the room, it's gonna shut off.
Right.
Period. And that'll help with energy.
Smart sensors, is that
Yeah,
kind of
occupancy sensors. And
occupancy
so
sensor?
you have a receptacle tied to your lighting. So when that light turns on, that power pack will energize that
Right.
receptacle.
So kind of coming closer towards the end here, but like when you were saying that, I was thinking like Houston right now has a word that I just learned a month or two ago, a bunch of zombie buildings that are just
Hmm.
it's too much to keep them operating efficiently for the tenants and what the market will bear price wise and stuff like that. I mean, are we really in a situation where all these uh, MEP stuff can't be just continually modified so these buildings can be used? I mean, I'm hearing a lot of,
I
I
don't.
think we have 27% of Houston buildings are vacant and they're not efficient enough to make it feel like it's a good investment to have people officing there is what I'm hearing. I don't.
When you look at the HVAC, which is the biggest driver of energy cost period in the world,
Mhm.
like it's like like let's say I'm gonna throw a number out, you can fact check it, but it's like let's say 25% of the world is basically off like buildings, is carbon footage from buildings. So when you look at a
Going
high,
through cows and their methane.
yes. So when you look at a high rise building, it's the system is 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 scaled in a way that's very different from what you have. So in your home, you have a outside air condenser that's pushing, that's helping with refrigeration in the indoor. So you have an indoor air unit that's pushing the air out. You have outdoor air that's rejecting that air, or actually rejecting the hot air out. When
Okay.
you go to a larger scale building, they go to chillers and plants. Those chillers and plants are very, very high cost to be able to upgrade them. So you can't just say, "Oh, snap of fingers, I'm going to make it happen." And then when you go to that side of it, you have a $200,000 chiller. Oh, I want to upgrade that, but now I have to deal with I have to deal with swapping out. So I did it on when I at an old firm. We had to swap those chillers out. So now we got to break those chillers down in place, swap them out, 6 of them. We have to run part load on some, part load on the other. While doing that, we have to upgrade their what they call controls. So your control is going to be the low voltage system that is telling the pumps to move, telling when their chillers to go on, telling them when they're part load. And so it's a big capital expense to be able to do it.
Yeah.
So when you run into that, can I justify, and I'm putting on my developer hat on my developer hat of, can I justify the cost?
Pushing down, and can the rental rates sustain that or absorb that?
Right.
Because that's okay. It gets it. And I had another example that I never put two and two together until you just said that. But there's a building downtown. I think it's 1600 Smith that the city just bought. But the chiller systems are at the top of the building.
Hmm.
And from what I understand, there was someone in the building ownership
It
property
wouldn't.
management years ago that whatever the freon or the component for the coolant was like, yeah, they're not making anymore. And he went and bought like, you know, 10, 18 wheelers full of tankers, right? And they've been just using that for a decade or so. And now it's coming to the end and that's it. And
Yeah.
so now
So
they're going to have to redo all these units.
yes, I'm not really great at the mechanical side. I'm pretty
Uh-huh.
good to be able, but what you're looking at is a cooling tower that's gonna be at the top of the building. It's gonna be
Yeah.
pushing out the hot air.
Mhm.
Yes, what you're saying is you now have to get cranes to be able to you have to break that system, break them down, get cranes in there to go get them and bring them back down and put the other ones back up. So when you go down to downtown and you see that they blocked off the street and you see that they have these huge lifts on it, that's what they're doing.
Yeah. Okay. That's so finally like the understanding of the cost implication. Like, how hard can it be? Because I was just thinking from tenant improvement. We're renovating some offices. Come on. But
Yeah.
no, the building HVAC system isn't efficient enough, needs to be replaced. That's replacing an arm or a leg or a lung.
Yes. Yes. That's
Lung is a
so
better way.
that's so how we look at it in the
That's a
MEP
good one,
side.
right?
Yes, lung is great. So how we look at it in the MEP is and I'll do low voltage too, but MEP is the lungs of of the body of the building. It's going to be how the building breathes, right?
Okay.
The circulatory system, in my opinion, well, I say it, the plumbing is going to be the digestive system, how water moves through it, right?
Okay.
And then structural will be the bones of the
Okay.
bones. And then I moved into low voltage recently, but I say low voltage be like the nervous system.
Uh-huh.
It is how you interact with the building. So when you go into a conference room and want to turn something on, that is low voltage.
Okay.
As in Division 27, Division 20, how do you enter the building? And then you can say circulatory system might be power, like, or what would power the
Electrical.
building? Like,
I would go
so
to
yes,
security or electricity being the blood flow of the circulatory system.
yeah,
That's what I would think
yeah,
from an analogy
yeah,
standpoint.
because it's giving the blood flow is giving power to everything.
Yeah. That's funny. All right. Well, so we have a segment at the end we always call punch this. Like if you could punch, in construction, the punch list is at the end. The one thing that I just didn't get done right needs to fix. But is there one that annoying thing if you just wish maybe subs knew to do or make sure that it didn't get thrown back up at the architect or the ownership or It could go top down or bottom up. Like biggest headache of.
We already talked about mechanical, but I would just say that what I get frustrated with is I'll get calls of an owner trying to like pick at my knowledge and try to figure out what they want to do. But I always say you really need to you really have to get design professionals, and you can't just skirt around it. So that's my biggest qualm with everything is people want to skirt around and say, "Oh, we don't engineer. He doesn't really do that much. Or architect doesn't really do that much." And it's like, no, we're here. It's a two-way street. We're here to give you a design that is close to what you want or what you want, so that you can actually have something to bid or something to go off of, and not just call me in the last minute and say, "Oh, we messed this up. We need you to fix it." Because now my price point is a lot different when I have to fix it versus when I have to design it.
All human beings. It's funny as I have architects in the family, and anyway. So there's a family situation, and somebody was talking about medicines and so forth, and I was like, "Are they playing doctor here?" And I kind of went back to this person and it was a fun conversation. Where I was like, "Hey, I don't think that direction of those comments and suggestions are good because we're not doctors. I mean, I know a lot about construction, but I'm not an architect,
Yeah.
right? And so in the MEP consulting world, it's the same thing. It's like I think there's a lot of developers that, well, I know enough.
Yeah.
I know what I did last time.
Yeah.
Just do the same thing. So, all right. So your punch this is appreciate the planning, appreciate the specific knowledge for putting those systems together.
And I wouldn't even say just for me, because I'm, like I said, I'm a fan of architecture. Just for anybody who's trying to help you build this building, or trying to help appreciate their knowledge. They're not gonna. Most people, and I'm speaking in general, aren't here to upsell you. I have no reason to upsell you.
Yeah.
My general rule of thought is I need to help you be successful so that you can come back to me and then we can be successful in the next one. So I really want your project to be successful.
Yeah.
More than anything else. Because I want you to have enough money to come back and work with me again.
Consistency over the one-time win. So, all right. Well, Cornelius, this has been great. Standard Building Consultants.
Yes, sir.
I hope to have you again in the future and hopefully come to the roundtable some more. I know you just started, and
I will.
hopefully we can cross mingle and get more architects.
Can I give a plug for the roundtable?
I love it.
So the roundtable is an excellent place to meet other professionals that aren't just architecture. We have flooring people, we have insurance people. What I've seen are people that are very good at their job and that you want to be a part of what they're doing, is the best way to say it. It may not be that I can help them day one, but I really look at those people and admire that and know that they stand behind what they do and they stand behind their product. And that's the most people, those are people that you want to work with the most.
Love it. Couldn't say it more. All right. Well, thank you everybody for joining us. Like, subscribe. This is Jeff Megow, Cornelius Davis, the Lease and Build Podcast with tenantimprovement.com. Thanks, dude. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank y'all.